We're joined now by Dr. Andy Gomez, who's retired Dean, Assistant Provost, and Senior Fellow in Cuban Studies at the University of Miami. Always good to see you. Thanks very much.
Great to see you guys. Good to be with you.
Will there be any change after all of this?
Well, we expected Diaz-Canel, and with Diaz-Canel, some talked about, including myself, could there be a generational change? So far, what has come out of Havana today is that they're more concerned with keeping political control than that generational change. But there's some interesting things that have happened. For instance, the first vice president of the Council of State is somewhat of a surprise. Salvador Valdez Mesa has been rewarded for being a party loyalist as the first vice president. Ramiro Valdez, one of the original comandantes, who's now 85 years old, is one of the vice presidents. So still, the old guard is very much in place. Now, on the other side, the National Assembly, you had Esteban Lasso, who has been president of the Assembly for 10 years. His term was up under their own rules. They just appointed him for 5 more years. Why? Well, 60% of the Cuban population is black. 41% of the National Assembly is black. So I think Esteban Lasso is also representing, if you will, a symbol for that particular part of the population, which the Cuban Revolution, as we know, promised a whole great deal and has been very slow in delivering.
Andy, what do you see as the biggest challenge in facing Miguel Diaz-Canel in Cuba?
There's no question, 2 things, Elliot. First and foremost, the economy, which as we all know is in shambles. How can Cuba repair their infrastructure to create a business climate? Because people that are trying to do business come back and say the risks are still greater than the opportunities. 2, once Raul Castro, Ramiro, and Machado Ventura and some of this old guard are gone, can he keep control? Can he keep control? And the only way, in my opinion, that he can keep control is to make sure that the military and him are in line to line. So I don't expect Diaz-Canel to make major changes or any changes whatsoever. This is going to go very slow.
And speaking of change, do you think that this change in power could lead to improved relations with the United States?
Lauren, I think Havana and Washington have entered a period of a Cold War. The normalization process, I think, is going to come to a standstill. I don't think, if I were Diaz-Canel, I'm certainly one of my first things, and I don't think Raul or some of the others, I would let him. But if I were Diaz-Canel, I'm certainly not going to pick up the phone and call the State Department or the White House. So I don't see that. On the other side, Washington and the rhetoric that we see coming out of Washington doesn't indicate whatsoever that we want better relationships with Cuba.
Where are the young people in Cuba in their heads in terms of the future? Because when I was there a couple of years ago and spoke to them, they were very enthusiastic about change, very hopeful for their future. Are they still feeling that way?
I spoke to a number of them this afternoon via phone. As we all know, President Obama created hope for many of them when he traveled to the island and when we created new policies towards Cuba and established diplomatic relationships. President Trump came back, it was elected, things kind of changed. Then there's wet foot, dry foot that is no longer in place. So they feel trapped. What I heard from many of the young Cubans today is from now on they're looking to see where else they can go anywhere in the world but Cuba, as one of them put it to me.
Andy, how about these reports that we hear that Miguel Diaz-Canel is a Communist Party hardliner? That instead of a reformer, this is a guy that was going to stick to their dogmas.
Oh, I've never seen Diaz-Canel as a reformer whatsoever. I mean, he has been a member of the Communist Party, Juventud Rebelde, from the early days. I mean, you do not get rewarded in Cuba to hold presidency or National Assembly unless you have been a hardliner in the Communist Party. For instance, out of the 605 members of the National Assembly, 98% started as members of the Communist parties before they were teenagers.
So you're watching this vote tomorrow.
Very clearly to see of the other 20 plus that are left for the Council of State, particularly who will the military be represented in that Council of State. I think it will be very important.
Andy Gomez, thank you very much, Andy.
It's good to be with you as always.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
And you can find out more news about Cuba's historic transition of power on the CBS Miami News app. It's very easy to find. You can go to the App Store, search for CBS Local, download that, and then scroll down and click on Miami.